Good morning, LaLa. I'm Dr. Erin.
Hi, I'm Rob Mack.
I'm Jez Moye, and this is Good Morning LaLa Land, America's first live streaming daily talk show, coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Also available on Apple TV, Roku, and Twitch.
And it's hashtag Thought Thursday. We're going to talk all about addiction and recovery because we come together each day to know the truth, live on spiritual principle, and live our truth.
Yes.
You know, live our
Indeed.
specific truth with eyelashes that are bothering me.
Are they?
Oh,
You're filming right now, huh?
Oh, these eyelashes.
They look beautiful.
They look good, but I
Yeah.
don't tell you, they're going to rip them off right after the
Yeah.
show.
Well.
Champagne Problems, 5 ways to fabulous, and they look fabulous on you,
They are
Erin.
amazing. I put them wrong, though. When you put them too close to the center, that's when they bother you.
Wow, it's a whole thing,
my fault. The lashes are great.
Well, recovery is really just a return to a healthy state of mind, body, and spirit. And all of our guests are representing incredible lives, consciousness, mindfulness today. Good morning, everyone, and hello back in the studio.
Good
Welcome.
Good morning. Oh, we're so grateful that you are all here sharing your time, your stories, and your talent with us. Cara Gold is in the house. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being with us today, and congratulations on the release of your latest single, Pleasure.
Thank you.
We're excited to know more about it later in the show. But here on Good Morning LaLa, we like to know, how do you start your day? What's your morning routine like?
I gotta be honest with you, it depends on the day, but every day starts with a few deep breaths and just a moment of clarity, and then I dive in.
Love it.
A lot of pleasure.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Absolutely. Are you most inspired in the morning or at night?
You know, again, it's so different. I know some people have a go-to routine. Mine changes. Sometimes I want to stay up till 5 in the morning and work all night, but sometimes I prefer just being fresh during the day, feeling the energy of everything around me, kind of keeping me going. And then sometimes it's better at night when the energy of the city is a lot more still and you can be with yourself a bit more. I mean, I think as an artist, you have to learn to be, an artist today, you have to learn to be flexible and work in all different types of situations and learn to be inspired at any time of day if you really want to have a career.
Oh, absolutely. Rob calls that tapped in, tuned in, turned on.
Yes.
But disciplined. Highly disciplined.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, the wellness rabbi is in the house. Good morning, Rabbi Judy. Thank you for being with us today.
It's great to be here.
Well, we're so excited to learn about these Shah hikes, right? The Shabbat hike. But first, we want to know, how do you start your day?
Truthfully, I pray. I don't let my feet hit the floor. There's a beautiful blessing you say in the morning. Thank you for returning my soul to this physical body. And before I put my feet on the floor, I just pray that my feet are guided and that with my will, God's will, and that I end up back here feeling like I've completed my day.
Nice.
Wow, that's so beautiful. We've got another Gold in the house. Taki Gold. Good morning, Taki. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Good morning.
He is the creator of Girl God. It's an incredible line of custom handmade jackets and clothing. You're wearing one of your jackets today, I presume, right?
Yes, this was actually from a veteran. I haven't started to complete it yet, but so this is like brand new, fresh out the box.
Well, you are well on your way. So what's your morning routine like? How do you start your day?
I usually don't know what day it is, but I start my day with a good laugh, and then everything just works in my favor after that. I just look in the mirror and just laugh at myself.
Laughter is so good for the soul,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Laughter's the best
And
medicine.
a good jacket.
Oh, okay. Yes, yeah. Then the rest of the day, I have paint all over my hands, so it's always fun.
Because he's creating wearable crowns. Don't
Wow.
you love that?
So cool.
Oh, so good. Paul Green is in the house. Some say he is the Cary Grant of the Hallmark Channel.
Wow.
Good morning, Paul.
That's quite a title. Hi, good morning.
Thank you so much for being with us today. So what's your morning routine like? How do you start your day?
Well, if it's hard to get out of bed, I just say thank you like 100 times until I get motivated to get out of bed. And then there's this Mel Robbins thing where you count like you're at NASA, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you just rocket ship out of bed and you're standing in your cold room. Then when I'm up, I do Wim Hof breath work every morning, which is, you've probably heard of the Iceman, Wim Hof.
Yes.
And then that leads into meditation. Then I hop in a freezing cold shower. That's how I start my day, every day.
Wow, like a rocket, and then you freeze yourself. That is
Like a freezing
one of a kind, Paul Green. Wow. Well, thank you all so much for being with us. We're excited to talk to you more later in the show.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
One of my favorite quotes from Thomas Merton is, if the only prayer you ever said was thank you, that'd be enough. So I love that.
Oh,
he quotes it out,
amen.
right? It's great. Just gratitude.
That is so
What are you
good.
thankful for today?
Oh my gosh, I'm just thankful to be alive. I mean, to be honest with you, every single morning I wake up, I'm so grateful just to be healthy. Like that is honestly an incredible gift day in, day out. I'm also, of course, grateful for Good Morning LaLa Land, for each of you, for Annie Waldman, Emma Merriman. So I'm grateful for so many things, my family. I mean, I feel like I could probably just go on a rampage of appreciation and never end, right? I mean, it's endless blessings day in, day out. What about you guys?
So many blessings, you know, obviously just always being a conduit for truth.
Yeah.
Number one, always just being connected to divine. The only thing I ever pray for is to be connected to the source. That's it.
That's great. I love that.
It's only prayer.
It's really interesting. Today I was driving to the studio and I thought, I'm so grateful for this rain. It's kind of gloomy again. And I've learned to really love that. One, because California is almost out of the drought and it's more lush and almost tropical than I've ever known or seen it to be. But two, because the universe, God, whatever it is that you believe, always provides. And like California, when my life was in a serious drought and I just needed to be rained down, blessing after blessing, when the time was right, when it rained, it poured, and it poured the blessings, and just like in California. So today, I'm grateful for the rain that is the blessings
I love
of the
that,
universe.
Jess. That's such a good point too. I remember like discovering Byron Katie. I don't know if you guys read Byron Katie,
yeah.
right? But one of the greatest
Work.
quotes that she's shared in her books is, you know, how do you know you need something? You have it. How do you know you don't need something? You don't have it, and you're still alive, right? It's like, how can you really argue with that?
No, it's so true. It's so true. Well, yesterday I went to the SDS Blue event. I'm so excited to be a denim doll and getting ready for Coachella season.
Yes.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
so excited getting festival ready. I've got some really cool Insta stories. It was one of those like moments where you're like, where am I? And then you go into the backyard and there's the flamingos and the unicorns in the pool. I mean, it was a total Grammable
When
experience.
is Coachella?
Weekend 1 is next weekend, actually starting on April 12th, and then the following weekend, weekend 2, but I'll be at weekend 1, so.
Wow, love
Nice.
that.
Very
Fantastic.
excited.
How was your talk at Unity?
Oh, Unity was great. It was interesting because it was, you know, we had girl church on what was Tuesday night, and then last night was out at Unity in the Valley, and we had this this circle. It was a very deep dive, an intimate group, and it was intense. You know, when you really start getting into it, you know, it was amazing, just amazing. We went all over the place. But one thing that really stood out in the conversation, someone asked about addiction, because there's all kinds of things. We all have trauma at some level, relative trauma. And we talked about addiction, and the question was, you know, what is addiction, and where does it come from? And I think it's such an interesting conversation. It was the spurring of today's inspiration around the topic. Each morning, we just come up with our topic. It's really an inspired factor around here, whatever's going on, but we'll dive into that. So that was super good. But I have a great news. We officially signed the contract for our spring retreat for Soul Society. So we are 4 days at 5-star Kimpton Lapeer Hotel in West Hollywood. We have glorious luncheon and 8 to 5 training for all the masters and subconscious work.
I love
Super
that. So what
exciting.
can people expect when they check out the retreat?
Well, they're 4 ambassadors, so it's a year-long program, and we have 4 days where we get into the actual training of subconscious work, and they develop their 8 pillars of business as well.
I
So
love
yeah,
that.
it's like full spiritual leaders. That's my jam.
So I got a question, Jazz. I've got lots of people asking me about the Focus on Beauty event that you've been having. Are we
Yeah, when
looking
you
forward to
doing
another one soon?
Oh, yes, stay tuned. Follow me
Yes.
on Insta and go to the focusonbeautyevents.com because we'll officially be announcing another date very soon. Still TBD, but I'm gathering some very exciting experts, both in beauty and wellness. Of course, have some incredible swag bags. And in the meantime, I'm going to go check out the Wonder World space opening in Hollywood this weekend. It's an incredible pop-up that started in New York, is now launching in La La Land, and it is just full of like magical mushroom gardens and bubble baths and the moon, and I'm really excited.
Oh, so much fun. I love it, Jazz.
I
That sounds
mean,
like
talk about Grammable moments. I'm really trying to like up my Instagram game.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like
It's like another, it is another full-time job. Not only are we expected to be artists and entrepreneurs, we also have to be social media content creators all of the time.
That's right.
It's so true.
It's an addiction.
Yeah, a picture. Hey, actually.
Actually,
It can
for
be.
many people,
Yeah,
it is.
totally.
So let's define what addiction is, right? So there's many different definitions. So there's not one correct, definition. my definition of addiction is really if something is having a majorly negative impact on your life. And it's really the struggle. It's like a struggle of like, can you have it? Can you not have it? Anything that's causing you angst that you're constantly thinking about and battling within, and that's really addiction. It doesn't have to be drugs and alcohol. It can be to emotions. It can be for a relationship. It can be
to
social
food.
media, food,
Yes.
whatever, right? And there's a spectrum, and then the next question is, what is, what's the cause? And there's only one cause, and it's consciousness. It's creating it over and over again, and the only difference between a little addiction and a major addiction is that addiction, when you do it over and over again, something repetitively, and you basically place the power outside of yourself, and then you become the effect of something. But the difference of a little addiction and a huge addiction is that there's trauma involved. So the little addiction, like an alcoholic might drink, have a problem, kind of, but then they spiral down into some trauma event within while they're drinking, and it spirals on a new level of addiction. So the addiction becomes what they call an allergy in AA, and it actually spirals. So each time they touch alcohol, it triggers the trauma that triggers X, Y, and Z. So it's like a vicious cycle that compounds.
Rob, I'm really wondering though, can you be addicted to something positive?
Working out, yeah. I mean, anything, and interesting in a way, right? Like, anything can be used in sort of a positive way or a negative way. I mean, you think about something even like almost any drug, or we got a party going in the back here.
Seriously,
but it's like any drug, really, if it's used effectively and used properly, it helps you heal. You can also use that same drug to cause yourself problems. So you're absolutely right about that, Jez. It's a great point. And I firmly believe that all addiction, like you said, Erin, boils down to too much thinking. The original addiction is to thought.
Yep.
It's just a thought. And so if you can sit with thoughts and not believe those thoughts and then not take action because those thoughts are trying to convince you to do something, you'd be surprised at how quickly you can break an addiction. But it really does boil down to too much thinking and an addiction to thinking all the time in all places with all people.
So what's the quickest way to break that, to interrupt that thought?
Yeah, actually pattern interrupts are great. You've talked about that consistently, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's surrender. You've got to surrender, and you've got to realize that you need help, and your way of doing it is not working. So you've got to get in there's many different ways, and really if you take down AA or whatever they have distilled it down to, it's really a decision. It's a decision. They find that people go to AA versus that people just decide to stop an addiction, that it comes down to the power of decision in mind. So how do you do that? For some people, it's that they're so powerful that they can actually decide. For others, they need to get a group. For some people, they need to check in. Obviously, if it's an addiction around drugs or alcohol, whatever, you need to actually go through actual withdrawals. So it's very dangerous. You actually need to get help in the withdrawal process.
Yeah, there's the physical component is probably one of the toughest parts of it. I'd say that for those of us who aren't in a space where we're clinically addicted to something, meditation is by far and large the best possible healing in terms of like just learning to become increasingly not attached or non-attached to thinking and to emotion. Just being able to sit, observe your thoughts, your emotions without any judgment, and recognize and realize you don't have to do anything just because your mind is telling you something. You have to do something. You can sit there, observe them, and in time, if you leave your thoughts alone, they'll leave you alone.
Oh, or you could go put yourself in nature, go on one of those Shaw hikes with Rabbi Judy.
That's right.
Turn up the pleasure music from Carl Gold, wear a wearable crown from Taki, or listen to Paul Green's new rock and roll hit launching in May.
Oh, absolutely, love that, Jess.
The point is that I'm so glad that I'm free of addiction. I've dealt with bulimia and codependency, love addiction really, and it was gnarly. It was living hell. So here's to freedom. That's what I know. So let's take a break and come back. We'll talk to some amazing people about how they're creating lives that they love and using their thoughts for good. Live from Los Angeles, welcome to Good Morning La La Land. I'm Dr. Erin.
I'm Rob Mack.
And I'm Jess Moyer. This is Good Morning La La Land.
Hello and welcome to Hashtag.
Hi everyone, I'm Erin Ziering and this is the Housewives of Hollywood.
I'm Joanna Garzilli. You're watching Life Stories.
Welcome to Getting Real with Pamela, a positive and purposeful show about passionate people and their journeys.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Eyes Up Here. I'm your host, Lindsay Palos.
Welcome back to another episode of Mind, Body, Spirit. I'm Dr. Kate.
Hello, and thank you so much for saying yes to tuning into the Yes Life show.
I am Yes Jess. My people, this is Table for One, and I'm Leah Sergakis, and
It is time for another episode of Sassy and Single, because that's what I am. I'm your host, Natalie Sadie.
hey everyone, what's going on? It's Erica Della Cruz, the #Passionista. Welcome to Passion to Paycheck.
Welcome to another episode of Purpose. I'm your host, Brittany Zonker.
Welcome back to On That Note. I'm your host, Elizabeth Lake. She shares all her tricks in her new book, Your Healthiest Healthy, The Beautiful and Talented
Samantha Harris. Hey everyone, I'm Lindsay Hoffman, and welcome to the Joseph Bliss Show.
I'm Harry Howard. I am him.
Welcome to the Lisa Goodman Show, and every week I have the honor of interviewing a game changer in the wellness arena. Hi, welcome to Defining Moments. I'm Suzanne Kloss.
Hi guys, my name is Serena Poon, and welcome to my show, Serena Live.
Hello, I'm Lauren Francesca.
I'm Brad Grunberg.
And you're watching
How to Start.
What is pussy poppin', you beautiful humans? My name is Ariane Andrew.
I'm Matt Dillon, and welcome to another episode of Sippin' the Tea.
It's going to be a good morning, La La Land. This is my first TV experience. I'm so happy I did it with you.
Thank you guys so much for watching. You can always find these videos and binge them on EverTalk TV. They're also now on Apple TV. Thanks for coming. Bye.
Kyra Gold is in the house to bring us a little pleasure today. How are you, gorgeous?
I'm well, how are you?
I like the jam.
Love the record.
Thank you. Thank
Super
you so
hot.
much. Thank you for having me.
Right?
So you co-wrote all of your music, right?
Yeah.
Were you always a writer? Tell us about that journey.
Yeah, I mean, it all started there, actually. The whole need to make music was born out of just having so much in my head and in my heart that needed to be processed. And I found that through lyrics, through writing, you know, that's what I needed. That was that cathartic experience I needed. And then that led into being also a performer and a singer as well.
When did you discover music? Like, discovered as a channel for all these thoughts and emotions you were feeling?
That's a good question. I mean, I always was a fan of music, but when that crossover happened, when I knew I needed to make it, so there was this year I was living in Venice Beach, and I had had a really solid amount of heartache and hardship, and was alone, was spending a lot of time alone. And as cliche as it sounds, you know, I was living on the beach, California girl, doing yoga every day, just like lost, alone, and just with myself. And I knew I was walking by this guitar shop on Rose Ave in Venice, and this tiny little dingy shop, and I walked in, and it was just a room full of guitars. And I grabbed the one I could afford at that time, and I took it home, and I sat with it, and that's when everything changed. I knew I needed to channel in that way.
Wow.
Wow.
So tell us what the song Pleasure is, what that song represents for you.
You know, I've written so many songs, and they're all very honest, and Pleasure touches on the aspect of just kind of admitting that we're all, no matter how much self-mastery there is, I think we all have to admit, we're kind of addicted to pleasure a little bit. We like feeling good, whether it's like, you know, you're an addict, you know, you like to drink too much, you like sex too much, you like to pray every day, you like this. We do things because it feels good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Totally.
I think like it just kind of touches on that, and maybe the song is a bit of a confession from one lover to another, being like, I'm addicted to it.
You know, last night we're also talking about human vicious cycle and human beingness is actually very predictable. But what I feel like is not predictable is the artist, the ability to bring something new into the sphere, if you will. So what do you feel like is your uniqueness? I mean, obviously the song is unique of itself, but what do you feel like your real message is for yourself, bringing that into your artistry?
You know, I have to say, I used to think that everything about me was so unique, and then the internet happened, and now we can see it. I'm like, oh my God, she looks like me, she sounds like me. I think the uniqueness is, you know, my heart and my energy in the room. You know, I think a lot of artists are writing amazing songs that are honest. I think some are, I can relate to a lot of it, so I would say that my music is unique because I made it and no one else is me, and that's really all I can say. You know, like some people are gonna vibe with that frequency and they're gonna gravitate towards it, and it's the frequency that they're coming for, you know? Because otherwise we all kind of like look and feel the same these days.
But who have been like your major inspirations? It could be other artists, it could be your family. Who has really inspired your work?
Pain has inspired my work. Hard lessons. Blues. The blues, I was in a blues rock band when I started in music. That was my foundation. But, you know, I think if I had to think of artists that have inspired me, I'd say Al Green, I would say Led Zeppelin, Janis Joplin, Fleetwood Mac, you know, they were artists in a time where everyone was pouring their hearts out in an extreme way, and everyone just like, they inspired me so much. I grew up listening to that, so say that, and then my life, you know, my life's been an inspiration. I've been knocked down so many times, I gotta do something, you know?
Totally appreciate that. Yeah.
So in today's world, the music industry's majorly changed. I mean, it used to be a completely different deal, and now most artists give away it's free everything, and then they tour. Like that's really one of the only ways people are making money in the music industry. What is your expression? How are you taking it out to the world besides just the World Wide Web?
You know, I still believe in live performances. I think there's still a lot of power to that. How do I take it out? I mean, I don't know. I think the job, I have to say, I want to answer your question in the way I think you guys want me to, but I think the real answer here is the job of the artist is to make the music. And then what happens next is not my business.
Boom. Love that.
That is so good.
Thank you.
That's everything.
That's good. That's a true artist.
Yeah. Do you ever find it challenging to stay in that space?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, because, you know, the world, the industry around you, as you're mentioning, like it is a different place, and everyone is looking at your numbers and your analytics, and you're no longer a person, you're a grid, you're a graph, you're a chart. And whatever is charting and whatever is moving in your analytics is what people like to go with. And that is not held back. People let you know every day that they're looking at your analytics. And so yeah, it's a daily reminder. I have to daily remind myself who I am and what I'm doing, more so.
How do you avoid then creating art for the analytics as opposed to art for your audience?
That's a really good question too. Y'all are hitting me with it. Hold on. I think again, this is something that actually has been asked, and I'll say, you have to be in touch with what's happening, right? You have to know what's going on, but you have to not allow it to affect you. So I kind of have this thing where I will listen to music for a period of time, check in, and then I'll check out. I don't listen to nothing. I don't listen to anything when I'm getting ready to create. And people will be like, have you heard this artist? Have you heard their latest single? I'll be like, nope, haven't heard it, don't care. I'll get to it later because I have to block everything out.
Yeah. It can pollute the creative process, right?
That's very common. Of every songwriter I've known, they don't listen to other songs. When they're in that creative process, it'll mess up their jam.
How would you describe your style?
Ooh, as a musically or as like a human?
Both.
Okay. I would say honest is that. I mean, honest, a little wild, a little playful, and sometimes a little reckless, but mostly honest.
You're honest about your recklessness, which is very unapologetically authentic, and I can really honor and respect that. Tell everyone where they can find and follow you and get your music.
Yeah, you can find me on the World Wide Web. Find me
It's old school right there.
I know.
Dr.
My
Erin.
uncle says that. I know.
when he says that.
I love bringing these things
Right?
back. I mean, you know, you can find me on Spotify, Cairo Gold. You can find me on Instagram, Cairo Gold Official. You can also just Google Cairo Gold, and you're gonna find me.
Boom. Love that.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Thank you so much.
You don't confront personalities.
These talk shows are hosted by your favorite television personalities, celebrity entrepreneurs, and social media superstars. New binge-worthy content is added daily with exclusive access to featured products, services, and experiences available to you in the Ever Shop.
We have a universal sign to say it's okay to take a nap.
Yeah.
Like the universe is saying, please chill out a little bit, you know? So
Right.
we need to listen to that.
Jessamine, you are absolutely beautiful, and you don't have to try at all. It's like I walked in this morning, you're the first person I met, I went, she is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. And
Tell me more.
As you said, pick up the phone, like turn that text, before you turn it into a date, let's turn it into a phone call.
These talk shows are hosted by your favorite television personalities, celebrity entrepreneurs, and social media superstars. New binge-worthy content is added daily with exclusive access to featured products, services, and experiences available to you in the Ever Shop. EverTalk is #community powered, and we are excited to offer you a free 30-day subscription to explore the talk shows that will bring you timeless entertainment that will inspire, uplift, and empower you anytime, anywhere on EverTalk TV, your home for talk. Live from Los Angeles, welcome back to Good Morning La Land. I'm so honored to welcome the wellness rabbi herself, Rabbi Judy, to the show. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank
Rabbi
you.
Judy, pleasure to meet you.
Rabbi, yes, thank you.
We're really excited about really the freedom and exploration of faith in nature. With the hikes you've created, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I mean, what better place to really connect and to plug into what's important? And the hike was really an opportunity to ask people to step out of a synagogue or a building and to really feel something tangibly, because we get locked in when we start to pray, and it's very frontal. And I know that when I walk, and when I hike, and I've done quite a bit of hiking, I took the Spanish Trail and walked across.
How was that?
Amazing.
Oh my
amazing.
gosh, I want to do that one day. Not now.
I want to do it again. But those were moments where I realized, wow, in that silence, there's so much being said. And so I gathered my congregation on a rainy day and said, no matter what, we are going to experience the reality of nature. And it was one of the most amazing experiences, because also prayer, that steady pace that is in a prayer service is so connected to nature.
Right.
And the most ancient religious practices were based on nature, winter, spring, summer, fall. And the best thing that I can do is help people to drop into the natural, steady rhythm of the universe. We need so much more of that.
I mean,
Beautiful.
they've proven it. That in my opinion, prayer is really about opening up to the consciousness up as wide as possible to be one with the universe. And no better place to do it in the middle of nature that has that frequency, that harmony, that just has a natural resetting and grounds us to the earth.
Absolutely. I brought a doctor with me. I brought a writer. It was so interesting who was in this little circle, and everyone had a perspective that began to just open as we elevated ourselves and literally walked up a mountain, because it was such a wonderful kinesthetic feeling about what happens to our bodies when we do that.
Some of the best conversations I've had with myself or with others have been while walking. There is something so special about that, where you just are able to open up.
And think about it, the journey that our people, took in the desert was a walk. The Bible is based on a giant walk to a promised land, to a place where we can manifest who we're supposed to be.
Out of the darkness into the light.
Right.
So tell people, that don't know, what is a rabbi?
Okay.
Just for somebody that's watching that doesn't know.
And I want to clarify too, I'm a rabbi and a cantor, which is something that's new and you're going to see a lot more of that. And what are those two things? A cantor sings. And so I went to seminary to sing sacred music. And there's a whole beautiful teaching, philosophy, years of understanding, for example, what Gregorian chant was about, what that was doing from a vibrational standpoint in our bodies. And that was what was used. The Psalms, they're all based on that kind of vibration. So imagine going to school for that. And then as I became the head of a synagogue, our synagogue is called the Nachshon Minyan Synagogue, and I'll explain who Nachshon was in just a moment. I realized there was a need for a rabbi because there really are two clergy. And I didn't know a woman could go to rabbinic school and also be both. And the school that I went to, the Academy of Jewish Religion, said, yeah, you can come and let's do this because it's needed. And so that's really what set me on this path of let's find out what's needed. What's already been done is great. Some of it's great, some not so great. I know that I rebelled against it. But what I began to find is there's a place for women in a leadership role that are bringing a whole different perspective. And also that it takes a lot of courage, but that people who have been through hard times have something to say. And I find that the greatest leaders have had tragedy, pain, as I have myself. And that has pulled me forward to have a voice and that's why I'm here today, is to just say there are people out there. There is a pathway that is being created.
I love it. You know, we're not political, we're not religious, but as a doctor, we get into all of it, our positive psychology, all of it, and we're always looking at the stories around people awakening and their trials and triumphs and overcoming. And I think that religion's one of those areas that people are afraid of. Like, you know, there's been a lot of division around it, there's been wars and whatever else, but I believe that the majority of people in religion are really amazing people, and the religions themselves are really amazing. And I think that they're all shifting within them. What shifts? I mean, obviously, as a woman rabbi, right?
You're saying that.
So what shifts are you seeing? Because there's still, of course, there's going to be darkness and everything. We live in a relative space, but what shifts are you really seeing?
I love what you're saying because I think I represent that, you represent that, this show represents that. There are huge shifts going on in our lifetime, and we're responsible for it, where it's not about separating anymore, it's about including. My synagogue is about inclusivity. There are so many people that are a part of our congregation, and I wanted to create a home for them who are from mixed marriages, everything. And we all believe in the same thing. We want the same thing. We have the same language. And to break down religion versus spirituality, it's finding a place where there's a togetherness. I have children who don't know the difference. Isn't that exciting?
Yes. That's so exciting.
Yes. They don't have the prejudice. And I make it a point to work with children as well as 80-year-olds. And what I find on that spectrum is there's a real desire to find out where we connect, because we are so isolated in our world. And I think that even the Shahaik was a bringing together. In a month, we're going to be doing a Shahaik, bringing together interfaith, because it's a Sabbath walk. It's worship and walking, and what could be better?
I love that point. What do you think is the key to connection?
That's a really good question. I think that it is that breath and just saying, we're all human, and that we're unique, and I think that's why we need a quiet space, meditation, music, to find that, because the ego is so strong, and we all want to be like somebody else, but truthfully, this is what I try to help people find is, what is their path? Not what's, don't look at what's out there, but can you sit in yourself? Can you drop into who you are and be enough? And the books that I've written about how to wake up in the morning, how to close the day, with traditional ancient prayer, is really, how do I find out who I really am? And I think there's an identity that we're looking for. How do I fit in this world? What's my unique piece? And I know that that's what and giving people the space to do it.
It's profound. I love that recognition. One of the things that I was challenged with most when I went about that activity early in life was that I was looking into the world to help the world inform me about who I should be and what I should be. And I discovered that when I was able to close my eyes to the world and drop in here, that it sort of came to the surface on its own, right? And so that's one of the things, I think, one of the things I most deeply appreciate about religion and spirituality is that the silence does speak. And you mentioned that earlier. I'd love to know what you've heard in the silence that has been most helpful in your life.
Ooh. Isn't
that a great question?
Yeah.
Don't compare. Really, to find out and get curious about what's inside of me. I'm goal oriented. I love life. I love going out there and achieving. That can be negative on some level. And it's really those moments, and I do seriously meditate every day for a few hours. I lay on my back, I drop into who I am. And at those points of the day, as you said, I have to create silence because it gives me a dignity to discover who I am.
Just love that. And that's been my experience too, that when I drop into who I am, it's a thoughtless, wordless state, just a presence. And I think that's one of the reasons I love nature so much too, because nature seems perfectly present. Even as it goes about its activities, same as human beings, there's a presence that's not ever lost in thinking, worrying, scripting. It just does.
Yeah, a tree doesn't want to be a river.
Right, exactly. It's quite content being a tree.
I'm really happy right here.
Yeah.
No, I love that. And it's a it's such a profound reminder to, and also, Bud doesn't say, let's open today.
Right.
You know, it just, that natural steady rhythm is so comforting.
Right.
Hearing the sound of waves, that always brings me back. What a gift that is.
Me too. Well, tell everyone where they can follow you, find you, and go on one of these hikes.
Well, it's called the Nachshon Minyan, and you would look up NACHSHONMINYAN.org.
Love it.
What I want to say about Nachshon is, maybe you don't know who Nachshon was. He was a person. And at the Red Sea, it was Nachshon who took a leap of faith, and that's when the water split.
Oh.
New pathway split. And I had to have the courage to take a leap of faith. I feel like I do that every day. We have to have the courage to do that. And I think it comes from really wanting to see a new horizon that you don't see at all. And a minyan is 10. And I built this congregation 10 at a time. They say that when 10 are together, the divine shows up.
Wow. Infinitely, abundantly. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you so much.
We're all
Thank
the chosen ones. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Yes.
90 days. That's what we began with the show when we came together. We said, well, let's just do this thing. And how many guests have we had on the show now?
We've had over 2,000 guests.
2,000 guests. We're like 15 or 16 months into it. You know, for me, the show is a place to just have truth, have love, have whatever. As a doctor of divinity, I was like, do I become on the pulpit? And so I figured it wouldn't be so pretty, just not gonna lie. So I had to get these two amazing people together to do a show. And so I want to give a big shout out to Andy Waldman with Focus TV and Ever Talk TV. And I'm gonna hand it over to this this beautiful woman, because she's the one in charge.
Thank you, Dr. Erin. And thank you so much, Carrie, to Amy, and to all of you. Many of you have already been on our show, and if you haven't, well, find me afterwards, because I'm sure we are going to want to tell your story. And I'm so incredibly grateful that I was ready. I was ready and I was received by these two. I was ready and I was received by you, and women and men like you who believe, who have released the fears and the rejections and the judgments and really just embraced your imperfections and celebrated your success and your sister's success and your neighbor's success and that girl on Instagram's success. And you were ready, because it is our time, and it's our time that we rise together. And I'm just so incredibly grateful that you've given us the opportunity to do that with you.
Erin and Jeslyn are two of the most brilliant, beautiful women I have ever met in my entire life. And that is excluding my mom and my sister, because they will cut me. I promise they will. And I've never met anything but beautiful, brilliant women, right? And all of you are a testament to that. So just thank you so much for honoring us. I feel so humbled and so grateful just to be a part of this incredible journey that Dr. Erin and Jeslyn sort of have invited me on. Thank you, Carrie. This is just a fantastic event, and I'm so inspired by everybody's story.
Welcome back to Good Morning LaLa. And Paul Green, who's an actor, a father, an artist, a musician, and like the face of Hallmark, apparently.
Cary Grant.
We've got some handsome people on the couch today. How are you?
I am really good. I'm happy to be here this morning with you guys.
So on your little bio and Instagram, it says, as I read, a man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest. Whoa.
Isn't that true?
Yes.
I know, is it?
I mean, it's a Simon and Garfunkel.
Maybe all of us, right?
Yeah, not just men.
Right?
Mankind, womankind, we hear what we want to hear and disregard the rest. Yeah, it's how do we listen? We sort of listen for what we want to hear. And I'm all about learning to listen for the reflection that really serves you the highest or causes you to make those adjustments in your life. So I have really good friends that are amazing listeners, but also reflectors and mirrors back to the parts of me that maybe I don't want to see. And yeah, so that Simon & Garfunkel lyric speaks to me.
Love that.
So, Paul, when did you listen to the true calling that was to live this life as an artist, to pursue acting and music? When was that moment for you?
That's a great question. I was living on a farm in northern Canada, and somehow at 15 I saw Bloodsport, which is a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
Yeah, I remember that movie.
And Prince, The Purple Rain at the same weekend. So I found music, martial arts, and acting in like the same weekend, and I'm from a very small town. And so I put myself in martial arts and stopped eating sugar, and the day I got my license at 16, I put myself in acting school because I kept waking up in the movies, in my dreams, on the farm, but fighting with Jean-Claude. Wow! At 16, and like it just was meant to be, and I put myself in school at that age.
So, but what's that journey been like for you since you came to Hollywood?
Well, I came first. It took me all over the planet because someone found me for modeling in high school. So I was still studying in New York with Stella Adler, Uta Hagen, Susan Batson. But I had this insane modeling career with Tommy Hilfiger, J. Crew, like Saks, Armani, every designer you could probably think of in my like early 20s. And at the same time, I was like a monk. I was just meditating and reading a Bible and playing guitar and like no sex. I was like abstinent from 18.
So you're like a unicorn.
I'm a
unicorn. I'm like, who is this man?
Pretty much a unicorn.
My entire life.
No,
and you're taking what? I'm just kidding.
At 18, this girl who was like a model, she was a super Christian, and she had a guitar, and I was like, she bought me a guitar and a Bible, and I like became celibate to my wedding night like 7 years later.
Wow.
Yep. Not with her, but with somebody else.
That's an incredible story.
I know,
though.
but that kind of guided me through Milan and Paris and Tokyo and London when everyone was partying and doing drugs, and I was like literally learning to cook, learning music, got my pilot's license at 21 and like started investing. Like honestly, my commitment to God at 19, 20 years old is the thing that kept my focus and gave me a foundation for what's an amazing life that I'm living now.
I love that. There's a quote that I love, which is, love God and do what you want. Because when you love God, you do godly things.
Right.
It just happens easily, effortlessly, because you want to.
That's right. And it's sometimes hard to do the opposite direction. Just do what you want and then love God.
Right.
Because you might get lost in your own weeds a little bit. Just self-serving yourself a little bit.
That's profound.
It really is.
What was the most difficult part of that journey, or your entire journey to date?
You know, growing and changing, and as you have this vision of who God is and what God is, and as you age and you travel, and that changes. So making peace with that, and not letting go of the tradition of your family and your parents, because my relationship with God has changed so dramatically since I was 13, 17, 20, 30,
So what is it
40.
now? What was it, and what is it now?
It was much more fear-based, I think, when I was young.
Fear
And
thy Lord.
Right, fear God, and making it sort of into like a place called heaven. And now it's so much more about relationship and daily like connecting with people and sharing what I feel is really important, which is loving one another. So it's much more about feeling that other people have to learn what I know, and much more about acceptance and grace and love rather than fear. It's definitely been the journey from fear to love, is the whole journey.
Has that helped you with the rejection that comes with a life in the arts?
Talking about rejection, since I've been in LA 15 years, my manager gave me this hilarious statistic. This was already 3 years ago, that I had been on 660 auditions and had 630 no's.
Wow.
30 yes.
Wow.
I mean, one yes is really all you need. If it's Game of Thrones is your yes, or if, you know, whatever, right? You only need one, but I've had 30. But 630 times I've heard someone say, you're not it. You are not. So dealing with rejection, yeah, it's just not taking it personally and just next. But then being like gentle and kind and loving to yourself in your thoughts on purpose.
Right? But isn't that faith? I mean, knowing that it's like, fine, if that's not meant to be, that's not meant to be, right?
Yeah, and that goes in and out, right? Sometimes that's easier to do than other times. When you get a bunch of hits in a row, you're like, am I delusional? Am I supposed to be doing this thing that 1% of the planet can do, or like has success in, or can feed their family. I have a son. Through acting, there's moments when the phone stops ringing and you start going, am I doing the right thing?
Great question. So how do you both figure that out and then stick to what you figured out? Because I think it's tempting and seductive to step out of your integrity and step out of the alignment that you have with the divine and do something the world is telling you to do, because it might allow you to be more successful.
Yeah, I mean, just making your life about something bigger than yourself, about being a contribution. And if you're just focused on like your career and your trajectory and who you're trying to be in the world, you'll get so lost and go so in and out of possibility. But when you're with bigger problems, which is for me helping to find a cure for ALS, which my dad passed away from, or there's an autism found with Kate Winslet and Margaret, Eric's daughter, that I'm a part of, for raising money for autism. So I think in those times when you're like, what am I doing? You're like, okay, how am I contributing? And that gets you through.
Beautiful.
I think you guys definitely need to like.
We're already friends. I'm sorry,
have
it's
some
happening.
consciousness work for all the guys and get them together and figure it all out.
Yeah, it's wild, and it's especially interesting to me that you've sort of been able to stick to this North Star that is the divine, that is God, in the midst of what is often feels probably like a very chaotic, conflict-ridden world and industry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I have amazing parents, for sure. My dad, who's, like I said, passed, and my mom, and I've just got this huge family of like 65 people, like massive family.
That's a big family.
Big support. And my friends here, like we were talking about before, are honest reflections to me. They don't let me get so self-absorbed that I lose my lose my North Star or lose my way, because it's a very narcissistic industry, whether it's music or like I heard her talking about earlier about like analytics or likes, rather than just giving your gift and doing what you love every day and let the world like it or reject it, and find multiple ways of creating income that aren't just relying on yourself, right?
But you are launching a new album.
Yes.
We're really excited. Could you play a little piece for us?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, wow.
This is, I was in Joshua Tree, where everyone goes when they want to get deep. And this guy was this meditation retreat. I didn't know this guy, and he whispered into my ear, he goes, "This unforgiveness will come after your very soul." And he said, "Let it go." He didn't know me, he just was like given this message. Then he said, "Freedom for your soul, let it go." And that's the name. My album is called Freedom for Your Soul. And this is about a very specific thing that happened in my life, about that I've thought I'd forgiven, and realized as you get older, you sort of just knew how to look good and say, yeah, I've forgiven him, and like, we're good, but it wasn't. And as you get older, you're just a deeper level of letting go and forgiveness, right? It's been a while since I've seen your face. It's taken me some time to find my place. I've had some troubles trusting love. I was waiting for help from above. From time to time, my story came around. I left out the parts that would burn the whole house down. And just when life was starting to make sense, I tore down a wall, built a fence. Let it go, let it go, go, go. Freedom for your soul. Let it go, go, go. It takes everything you own. Let it go, go, go. So that's the first.
Yes.
And it goes into this whole bit about the wounds you would give me were the ones that healed me, and when the shame was gone, new life I felt. So it's this journey of forgiveness and freedom, and the album's called Freedom for Your Soul, and it's a tribute to my father. So it's a bit of country, bit of folk, bit Americana, and like you're driving across the desert and you're listening to an old 8-track from your dad or your grandpa. It's got that kind of vibe.
And when is it going to be available?
May 8th, I'm doing a show here at in town at the Hotel Cafe at 8 p.m. on the 8th. And we're launching that morning on paulgreen.com. That's my website first, and then eventually it'll end up on all the other platforms. But the incredible fans of our show, One Calls a Heart, are called Hearties, and this is also sort of a dedication to them because they also really like the style of music that my dad really liked. So
I love it.
You're a testament to listening to and following and trusting your heart and not the analytics, because that place you tapped into, you could feel it. It's palpable.
Right.
You know, really powerful. So thank you so much.
So
yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank
Stay
you.
tuned. We'll be right back.
Live from Los Angeles, welcome back to Good Morning LaLa. And Taki Gold is in the house and he's making your war beautiful today.
I love our jackets. Look how fabulous.
Those are
amazing.
Yes.
I love that you consider this a wearable crown. And the reason behind that is so incredibly inspiring. So would you mind sharing your story with us?
Yes. First, thank you for the show. I mean, if church was like this, I would go. so thank you. I was backstage watching. Just thank you, thank you, thank you. It means a lot, especially right now, what's happening with the world. But these crowns, okay, so 6 years old, I was a child of war in Liberia, and I constantly saw men force girls on their backs. And I vowed if I ever survived, and I laughed at myself, I'm like, you're not gonna survive. But anyway, so I vowed if I ever survived that war, I would vow to redesign God to a girl, just so the world doesn't miss out on the value of women, and also we can crown them to the highest level. That's why I chose girl god instead of goddess.
And who was the first girl god in your life?
Oh, Frances, she's gonna hate me. She's my sister. She was 13 and I was 6 when we were both in the war together, and she was my shield, and she protected my mind like the most of all. So this is her brand actually. That's her name.
Oh.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So she was my god through all of that.
Wow. It's an important time in history. It's fascinating that you turn that from not thinking, poor me, I went and lived in the war and all this traumatic stuff that happened, to turning it and making a difference in the world. It's pretty profound. What got you there? Was there some work or just straight up God, or what was that for you?
I was blessed throughout the war. I was the only boy in a group of all women. So that's why I'm really pretty. No, they think I'm pretty, so I think I'm pretty. So it was me, and it was about 11 to 12 women, and they just turned war into art. So that's the play on those jackets. And they just said, like, war, it had to be beautiful because I was in it.
Wow.
So, and the whole vision of God is God gets to see the entire picture, like not just steps, not just a bad day, the entire picture. And they just knew what we were becoming was just magical if we got out. And, you know.
Do you remember the very day you got out?
Yes. Yeah, I did. I was on the airplane, and I asked for Coke. And so the flight from Liberia to here is probably like a day. And I drank Coke the entire, like imagine 3 years in the war as a child, and like the first time you have Coke is on the airplane. And then
what did it taste like to you?
I don't even know. I mean, and then they were like, I think you've had enough. My sister looked at the stewardess like, you should get him Coke as much as he wants. You know? I have no idea what this kid been through. So that's why I remember actually just Coke.
Wow.
Just
Yeah,
incredible.
but
I'm not trying to like promote it.
No, but historically, it's represented freedom and happiness, and the fact that you, as such a young child, the first thing you wanted to taste was that freedom and that happiness. It wasn't about the Coke.
I think my youth, again, I think my childhood, just by the fact that I wanted to just be a child, because for 3 years I just couldn't. Right? I wouldn't have survived if I was a child.
So what is your mission now with Girl God? What is your vision?
Well, amazing story. There was one night I was sitting down with my sister and we're looking at the moon. And what's beautiful about Africa is even though during the war it was tragic, at night it's like the stars still came out for us. And so we're looking at the moon and I was like, I wonder what a kid on the other side of the moon is doing. And she goes, the same thing you're doing. And I had a chip on my shoulder. I was like, well, is there a war in America? And she goes, no. And I'm like, well, he's not doing the same thing. And she kind of told me, she said that don't ever put your war above anybody else's. And she goes, they have wars in their rooms too, Taki. And that right there just connected everything. So these crowns are just, we all have our own personal wars that we go through, and it's no different than mine.
Right.
And so this is not an empowering thing, it's just me saying that I recognize your power, like the fullness of it. And in these jackets, it's all mistakes, because I do it all by hand, so there's nothing perfect on it. But it looks amazing because that's who we are, right? We are all mistakes, but we're just magical that way. So I just, the mission is just for us to just live full, because it's easier to believe in a God than to be one.
So true. I love that you talked about it, because we talked a little bit about addiction and recovery earlier, and I truly believe that the greatest war we ever face is the war within, and the war of getting our mind right, and connecting. And your art is so beautiful, and just knowing that this is, no one else in the world has this jacket, right? That's the beauty of your art. That's the beauty of who you are and how each and every one of us are. And so thank you so much for helping so many women feel like
Thank you.
The goddesses, the gods that they already are.
The God, yes, thank you so much.
It reminds me of that quote, nature's first green is gold. What does gold mean to you? There's gold on this jacket. You are gold. You're wearing gold.
Gold, it's, I outline all of the crowns with gold because we never lose value. Gold has never lost its value. So just a reminder, like, no matter our personal wars that we're going through, we never lose value in it. Yeah, so there's amazing meaning. And this is all due to those women that like, poured all of their greatness in me. I laugh every time because it's all them.
Right. Well, you're clearly a conduit for truth, love, and all the above. So thank you so much. Tell people where they can find these fabulous jackets?
Girlgodglobal.com.
All right.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you so
all
much.
of your time, for all of your light. We are Good Morning La La Land, America's first live streaming daily talk show, coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. All of these interviews are available as a podcast on iTunes, and the full replay of the show is now on demand at EverTalk TV, available on Apple TV.
We are waking up the world together. Please like, share, comment, and have a beautiful Thought Thursday.
It's going to be a Good Morning La La Land.
Amazing. Thank you. Oh, so beautiful.
Thank you.
Really awesome.
Wow.
My goodness. You have a great story, my friend. Yeah. It's so inspiring to hear you share it because clearly you've also processed it. Yeah. You've processed a lot of it. I would imagine there's got to be days where you're like, I can't believe this is my life now and that was my life then. Is it surreal sometimes?
Right. It is an addiction. That's why I keep hearing about it here.